Perfect. All right. So everyone did the homeworks?
No.
No. Okay.
I did. I'm sad.
Okay. Let me connect to the screen.
Why I haven't done it? Because I'm just working on something else. I just spoke with Casper. Because on the
Okay.
first of February start the academy's admission.
Okay.
That's why I just have to meet some
Okay.
GCSEs. So
Yeah.
I
That's
have done it, so it takes like 1 week.
I think we have a problem with this. No. Should be like that, right? Yes. Okay. Let's and one. Okay. I know that we're going to have some issues. Something like that. Okay, I think this is the best we can have. Probably I'll ask Christoph later. Okay. So the homeworks. So some of you couldn't do it, right?
Yeah.
Was too hard or?
No, not too
Ah, okay, perfect.
I haven't tried.
Oh, you didn't try it all?
No.
Okay.
Also, try to read something and check some.
Okay, cool. But do you think it's not hard, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, perfect.
I could do it next week maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Just I have done.
You've done it. Okay. Was hard or?
Oh, nice.
It was okay. Okay, nice.
But it was a little bit confusing about the most popular language.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
I need another way. I don't know. The if and else.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
Maybe even check it. Is it right? But I got the result here.
Yeah. Okay. Just the questions I made them up, right? So they were not completely straightforward. But it was just an exercise. So you could do the for and if and a max frequency thing, and yeah. I think all of the ones that I saw were okay. So I think it was good.
I uploaded yesterday. I did it yesterday.
Okay.
Everything yesterday.
Okay. But we agreed that everyone has Node working. The Node setup working.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Did you do the homework in Node, or did you do it in
Yeah,
JavaScript?
that's right. Also in Node I did.
Okay, perfect.
But I didn't upload the Node.
No, it's alright. You don't have to upload it.
Yes.
Maybe we found 2 volunteers, Tala and you. No volunteers. You want to show the first exercise?
Okay.
You want to connect on that? If you have Chrome, you can actually connect on that one. And maybe you can show the second one, and then we can discuss together. Yeah? No,
How do we?
if you go on
Wait, I put it on Slack, so maybe you can open it there.
you wanna
Because I have absolutely no idea how to connect it.
So you have in Slack.
Yeah. So you can come over.
There's something very, very wrong with my laptop. Let's see.
That's not me.
Oh, sorry. But you uploaded here, right?
Yeah.
That one.
That's, I think, no.
This is the second.
This is the second.
No,
No, this is the second. That was the HTML.
Oh,
CSS.
sorry. This is the second. I think you did before the New Year, right? No.
Here it is.
That one. So let's download this. My homework with bonus sounds good. Then we can do that. Perfect. Let's do that. Let's close this. Let's zoom so everyone can see. Okay. Perfect.
I forgot what the questions are.
You can actually scroll down and you will see.
What my answers were.
Yeah. So basically, it was the party, right? Do you remember?
Yeah, I
It was,
do.
it was those 3 guys. No, I don't remember the names, but they were trying to plan a party, and they would try to answer some question about the party. For example, I remember one of the questions was how many liters of drinks were available.
Total liters and all areas.
Yeah. So and the exercise was so it was given to you a list, shopping list.
Yes.
It was giving you how many guests there were.
Mm-hmm. And the prices.
And yeah, exactly. In the shopping list, you had the name of the item and the price, and then for some special shopping list, there's some extra information. For example, for the drinking shop. There were like 3 shopping lists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first question was finding the total liters in all arrays.
So she's calling arrays, but this is like
Yeah, object. Well, it's the thing.
in all. If you want to talk about what it is shopping list.
In our shopping list.
Yeah.
First, I defined the total liter, and then I made the for loop to so we could go through the entire elements that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I made the total liter equal to the liters of the specific shopping list, which is Frank's shopping list.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah.
And then I logged the total liters of drinks available is the answer.
Yes. Nice.
And then
And you're using this operator. What this operator does?
since there's no point in repeating total liters, since I'll be writing total liter equals total liter plus Frank's shopping list.
Yeah.
So this basically just simplifies it.
This is equivalent to write total liter equal total liter plus Frank's shopping list. It's a bit shortened way to the plus equal is like adding to the total liter basically.
Yeah, for example here, instead of writing John's price twice, I can just write John's price plus equals John's shopping list.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, perfect. And then you can also log in on the terminal. Why did you use let non-const here?
Because the answer, what's it called? The value is going to change later on.
Yeah, the variable will change
very-
over time.
yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's quickly look at this.
And then finding the price for each shopping list. I forgot why I did that. We defined John's I defined John's price, and then I looped through John's shopping list and
yes.
made it come up with the prices.
Okay, and then you do for each of them, right?
Yeah.
And then you sum them up.
Yes, I think.
Some point, I guess.
No, we were asked to find the most expensive shopping list.
Okay, yes.
And so I was like, if John's price is greater than Frank's price and John's price is greater than Michael's price, then John's price is the most expensive. Else
Okay.
if Frank's price and so on.
Alright, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
I have a feeling you want to say something.
No, I mean, this is correct.
Mhm.
So there's nothing wrong, but you could do it in a bit more efficient way.
Yes.
For example, you could write each price in an array, and then sort the array.
And then
Sort the array for the
greatest, the
yeah, for
most
the greatest.
expensive.
Like add the new list with the prices and then sort it, or
yeah, because you are saving the price. You're saving the price, right? So the John price, Frank price, and Michael's price, and then you could save those in an array of object.
oh yeah.
So a shopping list, Michael's shopping list price, and so on and so forth, and then save the value, and then sort with a loop, either manually or could use sort function. But we're not in the sort function yet. But you could do something.
Wait, so put the
Actually, I can show later how you do sort it. I'll show you how I did it,
okay, yeah.
which is different than this. But this is okay. This is the part of this is not scalable, right? Because if I start to add more shopping lists, you will be in trouble to write that.
Exactly.
So if you have like 100 shopping lists, they would be very nasty if it's code.
I think I did what you were saying in the second homework,
Okay, yeah.
where
Well, that's fine.
there were kind of like 2 for loops and 2
I
if statements.
absolutely cannot pretend that you nailed it 100% at this
Yeah.
exercise, kind of. So this is a valid for me.
I didn't think of that.
Cool.
And then finding the total price
Yeah.
of the party.
So it would be the sum of all of them. Yes.
Yes. And
Yeah.
finding
And, each guest pay the total price divided 30. Nice.
and then the bonus starts here.
Yeah.
The max item is this confused me a lot. I didn't know how to find how the max item was and max price was, and then in turn give it the max name.
So, so here the question was find the most expensive item in the shopping list.
Yes.
In every shopping list.
Yeah. So I was able to find the max price, but then I was like, how do I put the name? But then I figured it out. What do you want to say?
No. So would you? So you just push the price, or so you have an array of prices.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. For each shopping list.
Mm-hmm.
And then you use max to get
The
most
greatest number. Yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Please say. Don't make statements like that and then not continue the sentence.
No. Okay. Yeah. You're using max. That's nice. With the yeah, that's alright. Yeah, but you don't know the item, right? No.
I what?
You don't know which item is the most expensive one.
Yeah. So
know the-
and then I figured it out. Just wait.
Okay.
Wait. I'm not done.
Yeah.
Container name max equals empty array.
Mm-hmm.
And then for loop through John's shopping list.
Yep.
And if the expensive price is equal to a price in John's shopping list, then push John's shopping list the correspondent name. And I did that for each shopping list. But as you said before, this is also not very efficient.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. First of all, you could do something super easy. You could just concat all the shopping lists. And
I
do one
forgot
for
how
you.
to use concat. And I didn't even remember the name. I was like, what's it called? Is it a copycat?
No. Yeah. You could concat all the shopping lists.
Yeah.
Then obviously, you have one.
How to concat?
We saw concat many times in the. It's array dot concat, and then in the parentheses, it's the other array.
Yeah, I forgot the name. I was like, what's it called?
We saw many times concat during class.
Hmm.
And what's help?
Concatenate arrays.
Like put them together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you. I'm pretty sure that I've used it more than once during class.
Mm-hmm. You did.
Yeah. It's
So
quite
instead
common.
instead of having this 3 for loops,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
have
You
one
could.
Yeah.
for
For a
all.
loop, and then you just kind of.
Yeah.
I
So
need to write notes.
you could have gone a little bit shorter, but okay, this is still okay.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
Mm-hmm. And I think I did the same with the with the minimum item.
Oh, okay.
So in the container name max, you just have one item that is like the name of the, because the container max, if you scroll a bit up to the max item, this container name max is an array, right?
Yeah.
And it has one item that is
Yes.
the name.
Yes.
Okay. And why did you, or why did you choose to have it as an array instead of a string?
Because I was using arrays, I was like, I'm pretty comfortable with this right now.
But,
There's no logical reason.
You need to watch out for one thing. If and I think I left this trick in the exercise. There were different items with the same price at the max price.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean that, for example, there is 2 different sandwiches which are 2 different items, but they are both have the same
Yeah.
price, and the price is both the max price. This will actually save you.
What I did?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you will just push here all the items,
Mm-hmm.
but this won't save you if the shopping list is written badly, and then you have 2 items that are the same and also have the same price and are all max price.
Oh, like
You
if
will
there
have
was a typo.
Yeah, you will have a duplicate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case. So actually, this is nice. So is everything clear for everyone, more or less, what is happening here?
Did anyone use concat for looping the arrays?
Okay.
Concat is not liked.
It's nice.
And you did basically the same for the cheapest for the cheapest item. And of course you could do this in one for loop, right?
Yes.
Because you could put the same. You could have just one for loop for both min and max.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
But yeah, this is fine.
They're isolated by questions, so it's
Yeah, it's fine.
I was saved by the question.
So of course, like she's doing a for loop again, and this is exactly the same as this and this and the other one. So she could have the same. She could have like another two statements in the for loop and solve two problems in one loop instead of loop twice. Yeah. So you mean,
What's one of the difficult questions in that
well, the bonus points of the first exercise.
minimum?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, she I think she can do it right away.
What? Do what?
to have the two questions solved in
one for loop.
Okay.
and we can try to count it later.
Oops. So like you could move the the contain array min push in here. Where do you do max? Right.
What? I don't get it.
So we agree that there are two for loops that are exactly the same. So this one
Yes.
and this one.
Mm-hmm.
So what about, and also this one actually. You see max item.
Because here I wanted to push the
The
name,
name,
and
yeah.
there I wanted to push the price.
Okay, yeah, but we agree that this for loop and this for loop
Mm-hmm.
and this for loop are
And
the
there's
same.
one more down.
And one more down. So what about, let's start to, for sake of simplicity, we have the array min
Mm-hmm.
together with this one. So here, you can move that the line here. So this one. Go here. This John. Yeah. You agree?
Mm-hmm.
And the same for Frank.
Yes.
So the same for Frank, like that. And the same for Michael here. Perfect. Then we don't need this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just comment it out. And then of course this we need to move it somewhere here after. Okay. So in this case we are using one for loop for
Both the price and the
yeah,
name.
exactly.
Okay, now I got it.
Yeah. But actually not in this case because you're using cheapest price here, which you need to calculate it first. But you can do for, sorry, not so definitely not for that one, but for this one. So first of all, let's run it. Node my. Oops. Let's. Oh, this is sorry in. Oh. Nope. Just let's save this here. Save. Downloads. Okay, it's in downloads. Why it's not? Download. Oh, it's okay.
The main genre.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just running. So this one. Yeah, this one you could do. So the min you could do together with max. Where I'm trying to find a max. Yeah. Yeah. So you could let's sorry if I do this. So if you guys follow me a little bit, we can I can show you we can do this.
Oh, okay, I get it now.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, in one for loop we can have both min and max. The other small optimization could be to have one big shopping list by concatenating all the shopping lists in the beginning. And you concat by doing this. Total shopping list. Actually, this could be a constant because it's not going to change, and this will be John shopping list dot concat, and then Frank shopping list concat, and
Michael.
yeah. Okay, and then you can just have one.
Can I just go like click so we see it all? Take the screen like
You are seeing all this.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that.
Oh, there's something
No, I
wrong.
mean, can we go like?
But this is like this is saying dot concat Frank shopping list dot concat leader shopping list. So, but so did you try to do solve exercise?
What?
Did you try to do the homeworks?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you?
No, I didn't reach to the bonus.
Oh, no bonus points. Okay.
No.
But what about the second exercise?
I actually did what you did before, like putting all of them and
Okay.
like finding.
Okay. But it was too difficult to.
Yeah, because I didn't get the math like of like gathering them on one array. That like went out of my head.
Okay.
You know, it was a bit writing too much.
Okay. But we agree that was in your range. Was not hard because at some point I got a bit scared and said maybe this is too complex for them.
For me, I didn't know how to find the most popular language.
Okay, yeah, we have some issues with that. Yeah, okay.
I even saw my colleagues' solutions and they didn't understand it.
Okay, cool. That's fine.
How the code works, I didn't understand.
Okay. Do you wanna connect over Chromecast? If you have Chrome, you can actually connect. Then we can. So there are questions about the first exercise. Are there questions, things that are not clear about the first exercise? Okay, very good. So if you open Chrome, you do here, you go here. Yes, and you do cast, no one. And then, okay, got it. Yeah. Then this arrow. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
It doesn't have to open it with Node.js. Just
Yes.
Where is this
cast.
file? Where
this
is
file,
this
I
file?
mean, is everything for
This one
this open.
That's
Just
the
in
name.
share, yeah.
But, so
Okay, cool. Now we
you
can see.
so that's
Yeah.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we are. Yes. Okay, so the second exercise.
Oh, it's not very clear.
Can you zoom a bit? It's Control plus, or you just go on the menu. It's the same.
That's not a network.
No, I think it's like if you go in. If you go in view, in the menu. No. If you go in Visual Studio, there is a view, and there is zoom in. Control plus equal, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, do a couple more times so we can see. Okay. I think one more and we're good.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Can you close this bar?
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. Nice. Okay. So the second exercise was an array of countries. And can I see the questions first?
Yeah, the first one is which country speaks Spanish?
Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is the array of countries, and we have the name and the population millions and the language. Cool. So the first question is which countries speak Spanish? Okay. Yeah. So this is the first question. So Spanish speakers. This is the array that will all the countries that speak Spanish, right? Yes. Cool. So can you explain you did?
Just first is new array Spanish speaker, and then I try to start it for group.
Areas that's sick, so he's not going to be able to do the recap of the challenges, the CSS challenges over the holidays.
It's okay, nobody finished them anyways.
But then, if you, I don't know, if you have time and want to still finish it, or you have questions about it, then you'll be here next week. So then we can just talk about it if you want to do it.
Okay.
Okay, so you look through the countries.
Yeah. And then I push the language compared to Spanish.
Yeah.
And then push it new array.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
country's name.
Yeah. And you push into this one.
Yes.
Perfect. Nice.
Are there any questions about that first question? No.
I think it's about those 3 equal signs and 2 equal signs.
Yes.
I think they always are.
For
For myself, I was trying.
So the three equal sign is checking also for the type.
Okay, for myself, I tried for 3 and I was getting like some problem. Then I used 2.
And that was fine?
Okay. In this specific case. In this specific question. Okay.
And then just it is console.
Okay. What is like? I can see one things that I would do immediately by reading this code. What would be like just one very simple things that I would do when we talk about let and constant? I will avoid to use var and I will use let instead.
Actually,
Don't they function?
My one just I was working with the Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're so
Yeah, that's why that's exactly why I said you should start node and everyone has to be in the same node.
yeah.
Now you get me, right? Because we need to use let and const.
Yeah, that's why.
But if you use eExplorer 8 or 9 or 10, the old versions they don't know what's
yeah,
let.
that's not
Yeah, so that's exactly why I said to you, please solve it using Node, because the environment make a difference.
Yeah.
And we are going to use some stuff that is new JavaScript that doesn't work in browsers but works in Node.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, because I'm focusing more teaching you the language, I'm trying to teach you the latest things about the language, not the old crap, the new things.
So in the new things we should use var or let?
Let. Let and const. Let for the variables that will change in your code, and const for the variables that won't change. But if you are completely confused and you don't know what to do, just use var as an indication that you don't know if this is something that will change or not.
I started with let and then changed it to use.
Okay, okay. Perfect. And then you console log here.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And then after that, the mostly populated, that means 100 million.
Yeah.
Just again, just make a new array
Yes.
and then just compare.
So the same thing here, right? There are two for loops the same. So if you could move this block here and just in one for loop answer all the questions.
Okay.
You agree with me, right?
Yes.
You don't need two for loops, but I mean this is fine.
But then, like, if a country's language is Spanish,
Yeah.
and then write also.
And then here
If-
go one line and then write if country population.
without else.
No, without else. Just another if
Mhm.
would be perfect.
So you're still in the loop, but just outside the conditional, but you still have the data that you need to solve the other question.
All right.
And
Perfect.
and this is tricky one for me, but I did referring to very much to like others.
So, oh yeah, this is the most popular language.
Just I declare one array, new array for English language,
Okay, yeah.
and then Spanish language, new
Yes. Yeah, I know where you're
array,
going.
and then it's a very long word, and Italian language.
Okay.
And then Portuguese language, and then Japanese, and then just equal, that's equals.
Oh.
It's a very long word for me. But
Oh, okay.
my answer is
Mhm.
least popular language. Yeah. In that case, it should be 2 because of Japanese and Italian.
Yeah.
But I'm getting only 1.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
Just, but it should be 2. Answer. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it because so you have an if and else if and
Yeah.
so it will only fall in one of this, right?
Now, yeah.
So you couldn't do it this way.
But I did another method, and also I only got Italian. It won't give me the Japanese.
Okay.
But if
But
we do it,
because you have if, else if, like you cannot have two. You can have one.
I
that-
didn't do the
Ah,
else
okay.
if.
so like if we just write if and then close it and then another if without else if, that will print 2.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Wait.
Can you show us the professional way to do this?
Yes.
Yeah,
Because, you know,
I'll-
if you have 1,001, we're not gonna do it. Code for it.
exactly. Yeah. I want to see what you did first.
And
then I'll show you how we
I've been
do it.
doing the same process. I found like another method using reduce.
Yeah, I saw that.
It is so
That was
difficult for
intense.
you to understand how, but still I got only one.
Yeah, okay.
answer.
And I showed you what I did with the max frequency.
Yeah, and you only got one?
I only got one.
That's surprising.
But I thought maybe it went down to look at the numbers because they differ in numbers of operations.
Mm.
Okay. I would say something that what I've seen to now is it's quite good. There's absolutely no problem. Of course, those exercises could have been solved a little bit more, like more sharper, more concise. But this is perfectly fine. I was expecting this. I wasn't expecting more than this because you still don't have the full set of the JavaScript.
Yeah,
You didn't learn more than this. So you use what you learn, and that's perfectly fine. That's exactly what I was aiming
and I
for.
was trying to do the other way, but I'm not getting that result exactly this way.
No, but obviously your skills are limited by what I've teach you till now, right? And with only 2 classes, be able to solve this, in my opinion, is impressive.
Yeah,
be
I
honest.
think so
We
too.
have other answers for this.
Yeah, I will actually solve this and share with you. But you will go into my code and see Marco never talk about this, and then you will say, okay.
But,
So
yeah.
what they've done till now is perfectly fine. And obviously it isn't perfect, but it's very, very, very good.
And I can talk just theoretically about the solution that I was thinking. Maybe it's different
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
Marco's. But so here I was trying to get the frequency of each language, right? So for me to track that, I imagine that you could have an object where the key is the language and the value is the number of times that language is repeated. So you would have a for loop and you would have this new object that was called frequencies. And then you get in that for loop, you check
And you plus
if
one.
that that key in these frequencies, the key in my country's language exists, if in this object the key Spanish exists, you add 1 to that value. So you would have this object that is like Spanish 1, Italian 1, Japanese 1. And you go through that. So if it's there again, you plus 1 another. So you have Spanish 2, Italian 1, blah, blah, blah. So in the end, you end up with an object with all the frequencies of each language. You just have, what was the most popular? English. English 3, Spanish 2, Italian 1, Japanese 1. So you have an object with all of that, and then you can get the max
Frequency.
for that value.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another solution. That's what I didn't even solve it, so I'm not sure if it's right, but that's what I was thinking that could be
Yeah, I
a
didn't solve the
solution.
second exercise, but I solved the first one. So I can share the solution with you all. And then I'll solve the second one in my way, with my tools, and then you can see how I solve it. But I'm not expecting it's the same because you still don't know all the language. But today we're gonna learn something that would be extremely useful for you. So functions, yeah.
And the max
Value.
frequency and the mean frequency that a lot of you guys use, that was perfect. That was like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best way that you can solve it.
I even got scared at some point. I said, oh, maybe it was too difficult for them. So the fact that you will be able to solve it was perfect. Yes.
I just want to know how to show an Italian also this popular language. It should 2 result. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What should I do now here?
No, this will basically say Italian is the least popular language, and you will never get this.
No.
You will never get that one because it is a big if else if. So if this is true, then
Yeah.
it won't continue. It will just stop here.
So you could have only ifs without the else.
Yeah.
If you have if this English.
Yeah, like what he said before.
Yeah.
If you just have if and then another if and then another if.
Okay.
Yeah, because with the else it's always one or the other,
Yeah.
but never
Yeah.
both.
I got it.
Yeah.
So it is impossible that you have those two at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. I think we are done, right? There's more? No. This was X. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We will share the solutions and.
Yeah, but before we share the solution, the Wood wasn't able to find time or energy or whatever during the 2 weeks break. Please put a little bit more effort to do it in this week. So next week, you can show me something. And the people that was able to solve it the last week have an extra advantage because they already saw the solutions, and they will be able to solve with they will have one more tool in their backpack.
And the methods that we will see for a race today will make so much sense to you now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So try to solve those exercises for the next week. It should be even easier for you. And I think you can actually see on Slack there are already solved exercise, so you can get inspiration. Maybe you can just read it first, and then make 1 hour, 2 hours pass, and then try to solve it yourself.
Make use of Google.
Oh yeah, and
Lots of Google.
Yeah, and Google things. Yeah, of course. Perfect. I think we already spent 1 hour, so we should move forward. Yeah. Oh, I think I did need to do that. Yes. Okay. So we're going to talk three big topics today, actually. Function, object-oriented programming, and array methods. And this actually would be very helpful for the exercise. Array methods, they will simplify a little bit the way you write all that for loops. So function. I think we need to just slightly. Okay. So function is. You need to think about function like a box of that encapsulates some logic for you that you need to repeat across your code. So this is a very, very long definition, but I think the first bit is what I really like more, a usable piece of code, and that's the way I usually think. When I need to do over and over the same thing, I will just write a function that does that, and then I can use the function over and over in my code. Yeah, the JavaScript, at least the old JavaScript, it's a very, very function oriented. Means that the function, they play a central role in the language, because function besides being a function, they also serve other stuff, scope isolation, and they can be used as a class in some cases, because JavaScript, you should know JavaScript is a very, very simple language and very old language. And when it was designed, many of the cool language techniques were not implemented in JavaScript. For example, JavaScript doesn't have a class keyword. Now you don't know what is a class keyword, but it's very, very important in object-oriented programming. But they don't have that. There's no class. It was introduced 2 years ago only. And therefore functions, because of that, because a lot of part of the language, compared to other languages, is missing, functions are a bit more complicated in JavaScript, because you can do just more than just a regular function in other languages. I'll explain you what I'll explain you what better with code later. So, from a logical point of view, this is valid for any language. A function is it's a piece of code that you don't know what it is inside if you didn't implement it, and then it has some inputs, which are your arguments, and then there is some outputs, and that's what returns. To be super strict, things that doesn't return anything are called routines. Because strict functions should always return something. In C, in fact, if it doesn't return anything, you need to specify the return void. It doesn't return anything, but that function is actually return something, which is void. But in JavaScript, you don't have to write return void or anything. You just don't write anything, and then it's still happy. But I will call that routine, and that's pretty good if you need to do something that doesn't have any output. You just need to do over and over, and you don't care about output. It's just something you need to do. That's usually it's called routine. So parameters and arguments. So if I write a function that is something like that, sum A and B are the parameters of the functions. And then we can say this function has 2 parameters, A and B.
You've been using a function a lot that takes a string parameter, the console.log.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you put in there is a parameter, right? That the long function takes.
Yeah. And then we can call the function sum, and then we can say s sum 4 and 5. And then we say the numbers 4 and 5 are the arguments of the function. So when you call the function and you use the function, what you pass in the function are your arguments. But when you define a function, and then I say this function has A and B, which are 2 generic numbers, do you call those parameters? This is, people don't really are strict as I am when we talk about function, but it's nice that you know this difference, because when I would talk to you, say, okay, check your arguments or check your parameters. I'm actually thinking about 2 different things, and I would like that you think also 2 different things. Otherwise, we make a lot of confusion. And the arguments are passed the function. We pass 4 and 5 to the function sum. That's how you read it. So here you pass 4 and 5 to the function sum, which returns a value that is saved in S. That's the way I would read it. Parameter is the name you want to give to the variable that is available inside of the function. An argument is the actual value you want to assign to parameters when you call the function. So that's the difference. It's a bit of a dictionary. Yeah, and that's exactly what I said before. When you do the console.log or array.concat, those are functions. For example, we have a string. So this is a string, and you can do s.trim, and trim will remove the empty spaces from the beginning and the end of the string. And this is a function. And this function doesn't have any parameters. So it is also not every function has inputs, and not every function needs to have an output.
2 lowercase is also like that.
Yeah, two lowercases. It's another function that doesn't have any parameters.
What does trim mean?
I just said it. Trim it removes the empty spaces in the beginning and the end of a string.
Okay.
So you can see there was an empty here and empty here.
Yeah.
And then just here there isn't. Will trim the white spaces from a string.
The function math with max to apply why it must have two parameters.
Which one, sorry?
Math dot max dot apply.
Yeah, that one has that one has more than one parameter. Yeah, it is the definition of the function.
Yeah, we will see, but when you define a function, you decide how many parameters it should take. So when they wrote math round or apply or whatever, they said, I will take in first parameter will be this, second this, and third this. And when anyone calls this function, I need to have 3 parameters.
In our case, in the homework, we use the first one as null or
Yeah.
math also. But what case that we can use, that we will use 2 parameters?
It depends on the function, but they must have a use for that, the null that we were sending, and they must have some validation. If the first one is null, then do this, but they take it in for something else that is defined in the function.
Yeah. And if you want to know, there's also documentation online. If you go on MDN, Mozilla Developer Network, you can actually read what the arguments of the functions means. So they would say the first argument is should be an object, or should be a string, or should be a number, whatever. Then you actually can see why that is a null. Honestly, don't remember it right now.
Yeah.
No, you can skip. I think you can skip this one. Well, actually, try to open. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's a simple one. I can send it on Slack so you can do it, or we can do it together.
And you should do it on Node. I'm just using bin now, but you should use Node. So you open a new file.
What do you mean by using Node.js?
Yeah. So I'm doing this. Yeah, you can see me. I'm creating a new file. I have a folder. I'm creating a new file. I will just call function1.js. Okay. Perfect. And then the exercise says write a function named greater num that takes 2 arguments, both numbers, and returns whichever number is the greater. Basically the biggest. Call the function 2 times with different numbers, pair, and log the output to make sure it works. Okay. So the syntax for a function is something like this. So either you can save it as a variable, or you can write it like this. So either way. This one would be saved. It behaves more like a variable, and it reads more like a variable, and this is more like a function. But they are exactly the same. There's absolutely no difference. At least not in this context.
And what's the common use one? It's the second one.
Well, yeah. Most likely you're going to find this a bit more often, but. It's perfectly the same. So the exercise says that we have 2 arguments. And I have 2 arguments, A and B. And then we need to return the biggest number between the 2. So for example, if I have something like greater num 10 and 5 should return 10. And if I have 1 and 5 should return 5. Okay. So that's how you solve it. You could be even more synthetic, so let's actually try it. So I will do 10, 3. If I do node function 1, I need to save it and console log it. So const result equal, then you do console log, result is result. Then perfect. So if I now I do 1 and 3, I'm expecting 3. Perfect. I think we're okay here, right?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So this was the small exercise. So now you have like a basic way to see how to create a function and how to use a function. So this is the way you create a function. So those are our arguments, and those are parameters, and this is the way we call. And then we save the result here, and then we console log it.
And just to be extra explicit, the 1 is the A. The order matters in this case.
Yeah, it does.
So we say greater node takes the first argument is A and the second one is B. So if I send 1, 3, all my calculations will take in the first one as A.
Yeah. Yeah, the order matters. So the first one is A, the second one is B. And yeah. Yes.
What do you think happens if we send in another one? Like if in the greater node we send 1, 3, and 5.
Undefined.
The problem of JavaScript that is not strict, so you can pass more arguments even if there are only 2. So in this case, I can pass 3 arguments even if only 2 are defined here.
And this will not take 5.
And will work.
No, it will just ignore it.
It will just ignore it.
But if we send in just 1, if we call greater node with 1.
But this will turn error, yeah.
Yeah.
So this will turn error.
Because there's nothing to compare.
Yeah, you see, undefined. This will return error.
So if it's 1, 3, 5, it'll just take the first 2.
So when you put 1,
Yeah,
3,
yeah,
5,
exactly.
it will take 3.
If I write 1, 2, and 3, will only takes those 2.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll ignore the others. Okay, yeah, that's actually a very good point. Let's carry on. Yeah, we are still a bit in dictionary mode, but statement and expression. The complete statement is basically an executable line of code. So in this case, let s equal actual future. It's a complete statement. This will be compiled and will work. But 4 plus 5 is not a complete statement, and it will work if you're in the console or you are in Node environment. But if you write in your code, it won't. Okay. So here we need to be super careful. Object-oriented programming. So with introduction so I give you very briefly introduction with function. Now I give you a good introduction with the OOP, object-oriented programming. Then we try to combine all those two concepts together because OOP will use functions. And then from this point on, you will just use functions to create different things. I created one thing yesterday, very tiny, but I'll show you how to use function in different contexts. And in general, this is object-oriented programming, which is a programming paradigm. It's absolutely super important. Basically, it's 90% of code written use this paradigm, object-oriented programming. And the basic idea of OOP, so you can read much more here on the developer Mozilla.org, which is a very good website. It's the Mozilla Developer Network, and the documentation is it's unbelievable. And this has been stolen from this page. And the idea is to model your code like was in the real world. So if in the real world there is a car, there is a human, there is a home, in your code you will have blueprints of home, car, and human. Blueprints are basically a tiny piece of logic that will be able to generate objects, instance of home, car, and human, for example, if that is what you're trying to do. And this, and the beauty of this, that like a human can talk in a real life, also your code will have a method that will say talk, and will talk in your virtual world, in your software. This relationship, it's absolutely crucial and helps you to model and model your code much better. Like be able to design your software in a more meaningful way. Because, for example, if you have a game and there are like two participants, then you can create two new persons. And then you will create Marco and Alicia. And then you can make them talk, you can make them fight, you can do whatever. And it will it would be easy for you to think, because it's exactly, it reflects what is happening in the real world. The way you use the code it reflects what happened in the real world. So this is the object-oriented programming. And it's not like some stuff, it's easy, I would say, but some other stuff, it's and some stuff is a bit tricky. So let's start with functions to generate a new object. So I just wrote some code yesterday. Oh.
Maybe write like get out from our screen.
There's someone is like. Okay. Can you see? Yes, correct. So I'll show you a bit of the code first, and then we write one together afterwards. So this is a game, and in this game I basically model my game very, very simple. Fuck. So I model my game with basically two objects. I have a person and I have a weapon.
I don't know who it is, but somebody is
So we can turn off Chrome for
The cats.
Oh yeah, no, that's also a good idea.
It's the final project.
Yeah, I think I know what it is. I'm just going to find it.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet.
Okay, found them and killed them. Okay. Perfect. So let's do it again. Actually, I want to share the entire desktop. Okay, perfect. Yeah. This example This example it's a very, very simple. Oops. Desktop. Cost. Okay. Share. Yeah, I do. Yeah. So in this game, you see I have two functions. I have person and weapon. And this is a fight game. And this game basically consists that you can create a weapon, then you can create a person, and you can make them fight.
The weapon and the person?
Then you can actually fight with this person. So I'll show you how it works. So no. And this is my score 0566, and that's the strength of my when I fight. And I explain you how it works. Just give me a charger with. So I'm using a game not just because it's fun, but because object-oriented programming was mainly the first adopter of object-oriented programming were game designers, and for them makes a lot of sense. In fact, most of the examples that you will find in books in object-oriented programming are based on games. Okay, so how it works. Make this a bit smaller. So I have a function that takes 1, 2, 3, 4 arguments, and I return an object which basically replicates name, surname, age, and weapon, but has methods on it, basically other functions that are able to return the full name. So this one is the equivalent to the name, surname, and a space in between. Something like this. It's the same, it's like a console log. It's basically this. You can write it in this way. And then I have a method called fight, which takes the weapon power and takes my age plus 1 square root. And square root is the this is square root. Square root.
Okay.
Okay, square root is this one. So it takes the power of the weapon and adds 1 plus age square rooted, and then it will I do to fix 2, so I don't have a lot of commas. I have just 2 numbers after the commas. And this is my fight. This is how strong I am. And I model this because in the real world, when you fight, it's of course the power of the weapon matters, but also depends how much how much experience you have. So it's related a little bit with age. As you can see, it's weapon power plus the something about age, the square root about the age. And the square root is nice because it just make the age a little bit smaller. When you square root a number, it became smaller.
Why is it 1 plus age?
Because if you have age that, if you're a month and your age is 0.5, I have 1, and then the number that doesn't become positive because the square root of number less than 1, it's yeah. It's just tricky. This is not really doesn't really matter much. Just what I thought in that moment. And then I have another object that is called weapon, which basically return the power. So when I create a weapon, I have the name of the weapon, and then I can call a method, call it power, and the power is basically index of the name. So knife will be 0, gun will be 1, and bazooka will be 2. So the way I use this is to create a weapon. So I create a Markov weapon with the new keywords weapon. Then I create a person, a new person. Then I have name, surname, age, and I pass the weapon in. And now I can do this Markov get full name and Markov.file. And then Markov would be this, Markov Calabrese would be my full name, and that's my fight strength. So now I can create a new person. Put your name and surname.
Come on.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
17.
And then you can have like another weapon. So,
I want the bazooka.
yeah. Okay, bazooka, and then let's put the weapon in this. Let's call this. So now I can Otherwise, Talons.
Yeah.
Because she has a better weapon than me. So definitely have no chance to.
I gone against
It
the
wasn't
bazooka.
even close.
No, it was not. It wasn't even close. I have like 5.
5 times. Like 75%.
But you have much more experience.
Yeah,
This one also matters.
actually,
However much experience you have.
actually, okay. Yeah, no.
I
no,
still win.
No, it's absolutely not. I need to hack the code. Okay, but yeah, this is the idea, right? And this is object-oriented programming. The approach that I used when I designed this game was in objects. I have a weapon, I have a person can fight, a weapon has power, and so on and so forth. So I designed this in an object-oriented way.
Mm-hmm.
It's super simple, but gives you an idea what it means. So if for example, you have a car game, and it's very complex, you will have wheels, you will have the frame, you will have the body, you will have the engine, you will have the steering. Each of these items will be an object, and then when you combine them together, you create a car,
So
which
the
would be another
code,
object.
the code would be like pages long.
Would be pages long, yeah, pages.
Or like a
Wow.
converted into jobs, like
Yeah.
not like everything. Like a person when he's in military has to have all military equipment. For example, helmet, body armor,
Exactly.
knife,
Yeah,
guns,
and
everything.
more you model your virtual world, your game. For example, let's take the game. More accurate you are because you have more control on each part, right?
Indeed.
So like like a car could be with the big wheels, small wheels. The engine could have horsepower, many gears. So you can have more variation of the car because the car is made by all those components, right?
But in here, you just put it like in weapon function, knife, bazooka, and
Yeah.
and also if you can we add more things like, for example?
No, in this case it's very simple. The weapon can only be
For
those
example,
3.
if you have a body armor, she has to also have.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we add there?
Yeah, you can actually. Yeah, you can. So you
With
can.
helmet.
It's a very good idea. So you can have another vest, for example. Yeah, gear. Yeah, like personal gear, and then the name of the gear, and then this could be a negative power, right? Because this will like protect you. So let's say t-shirt. So the t-shirt won't really help you, right? But and then jacket, maybe leather jacket. Leather jacket will help you. And then you have a
bulletproof vest.
Yeah. Let's call it just vest. Call it like this.
Yeah.
And then we can have also helmet. Okay. So now when you create a person here, we can go in the person definition and we can have here. And perfect. So the gear will basically let's give a protection. So a protection would be a positive number. So higher is your protection and better is your better you can take the hit. And the protection will be a function, and it will return a number. and will be gear so gear protection strength. I'm not good at names though, but
We noticed.
let's return. And we can use the same technique that we use here. So we can have return, and then will be power dot index of and the name. Okay.
Do you understand the index of function?
No.
No.
Ah, okay. So the index of will return. So if I write T-shirt here, it will return 0. If I write vest, it will return.
It will return what?
So it's the index of that item in the array.
Yeah.
Being the place that it's at. It will find it and return the position in the array.
Okay. And I will make it a bit more complicated. So we'll just multiply for alpha there and add 1. So I think the protection strength, it should be so if let's say if a t-shirt will be t-shirt, this will be 0 multiplied at 0 divided 2 is 0 plus 1 is 1. So very low protection. So if it's 1 will be 1 multiplied alpha will be 1 multiplied at 0.5 will be 0.5 plus 1 will be 1.5. If it's 2,
Slightly better.
yeah. If it's 2 will be 2 multiplied at 1 will be 2 plus 1 3 and so on and so forth. Perfect. So now we can have gear protection will be gear dot get protection strength, and I don't think it's related to the age. Doesn't really matter. Fight, it's related to age. If more age you have, more experience you have, but the protection, no. So now we can add, we can create 2 protection.
I'm getting those.
So I'm basically creating now I create the blueprint for the gear, right? So I'm having t-shirt. Let's give a helmet.
Really?
This was your chance.
Yeah, this
Okay.
was.
Okay. I think I'll go with this one. T-shirt. And then we can add. We can have this. Okay, perfect. So now we can fight again. Absolutely no go. Of course we need to now. So when I fight now, I need to have the protection, right?
Yeah.
So it's so plus. So color protection. Yeah. And okay. I'll just add parentheses here so you can understand this goes together. Okay, cool. See? Nothing to do. She's winning.
But the numbers didn't change.
Yeah, because the numbers are here. I can display them for you. So Markov protection. I think protection is really not doing much in this game.
Yeah.
It's
I
too low.
noticed.
It's too low. So I have a good protection, 5.5. Tala doesn't have very good protection, but
But then why won't it add, like, why won't mine become 25.24?
because you have a very
Ours
low
is
protection, and I have like 10. I basically have 11, right? But I still no gain. I have a better protection, right? You see, it's the second number is 5.5, my protection. But Tala or Bazooka, it's definitely stronger than mine.
Nice.
Then yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is the object-oriented programming approach to a very simple game. So what I would like to do now is let's put aside a little bit the object-oriented programming part. Let's write some functions together.
Is this like object?
Yeah. This is the object-oriented programming, and we are using functions for object-oriented programming. Because you can see actually the function here you are using for create new person, new weapons, new gear. Did you see that at this new keyword?
Yeah, like it's
Yeah. So you see I'm using a function as a class in this case. We didn't introduce the concept of class yet, but it's basically a class is able to generate a new instance of a person. So Marco is a new instance of a person. Tala is a new instance of a person. And that's why there's a new keyword. And we can use function for this, like I showed you before. But before we jump in this, this is more or less our goal, this is what we like to achieve in the end, let's play with functions first. So I think we should, everyone, in the last 20 minutes, just before
lunch.
Yeah, just have like 5 minutes to talk about what we did. We should write 3 functions. One that doesn't have any arguments and it doesn't return anything. One that has arguments and doesn't return anything. And one that both has arguments and returns something. So 3 different functions, and it's up to you.
And we can name the function whatever we
Do
want.
whatever you want. Write 3 functions. One with arguments. One without arguments and without returning anything. One that has arguments and doesn't return anything. And one that has arguments and returns something. I'll write it down.
Can you also share this later on the group?
Yeah, I'll share this. It's fine. So, function, no arguments, and does not return anything. Function arguments and does not return anything. Okay, so 3 functions. So do you remember the syntax for function? It's like function,
Yada yada, brackets, curly brackets.
so this is
No
this
argument, no return.
This doesn't have any arguments and doesn't return anything. Yeah, you can start, and you have like 20-ish minutes.
Should it like console log something? Or
That's yeah, that could be. That could be. You can have something like that. Just console log.
But then what?
So this could be a good example.
This is for
No argument, but
Yeah.
return something.
And no, this doesn't return anything.
Yeah, because.
There's no return here.
So what's the point of the console log?
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
This is because let's say you wanna console log a lot of text all the time in your code. If you wrap everything in this function, then you can just call hello, and you're good. You don't have to copy and paste every time you need to display all this text.
But you said it doesn't display anything.
No, it does display anything. It doesn't return anything. This code will be executed.
Yes. So you will see hello everyone.
Yeah, but if I do yes, but if I do something like const t equal hello, and then I do console log t, it will be undefined because it doesn't return anything function. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I do this, this will be undefined. You know what I mean? Because doesn't return anything.
But then what's the point of wrapping it inside the function?
Because then I can call it and reuse that piece of code over and over.
But this one is returning something. It returns no.
Because functions are reusable.
Yeah.
So if you just put let t and then put a bunch of text and you need to use it again, you can't. Because it's not reusable.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to copy and paste all the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's inside a variable, right? So there is a variable, and that variable is a function. It returns no, but yeah, but that's okay. If you go to logic, that's correct. Because it's a function. It doesn't return anything. But if you console log it, it's defined. It exists. So if we console log it, it will tell you.
Can the
yes,
argument be just one number? Or like
but if you
Yeah, it could be.
or a string or anything?
Yeah, you can be also string.
So this you're not calling it. To call
You could
the
be also
function,
string.
you need to remember
But watch
this.
out, that's the definition of your function.
So you need to
You're not
console
using it
log
yet.
one, and then
Yeah, I'm not using it yet. Later.
Yeah, so that goes.
This is the parameter,
Exactly.
right? If I write something here, then this is the parameter.
Yeah, so you're not using so therefore you cannot have a string in there.
Oh,
You need to do the same thing for the number 2.
So should that also be inside the function?
This one without
Yeah.
anything.
But this work.
Yes?
Then I'm trying to make
Yeah, it works
arguments.
also, yeah.
Arguments.
Yes.
Without put like
I don't know what this is.
The arguments go pointing to
Yeah,
side.
exactly. You can
like
you can write a function that doesn't have any arguments, but then
You
you can
receive
write
something.
and you can just do an
whatever,
operation
you
for
have
that.
A,
So
or,
like
but it has to
that
be the same. For example, if here you're using a variable
like can I call it
for
function?
a variable called fence, you need to define that it's for comma
This,
fence. Exactly.
So this is a function that has no no arguments and no it doesn't return anything, right? This has 3. You see A, B, and F.
But this will not return.
Yeah, and then you need one that will as arguments.
Should I put
Yeah, arguments and does return something. So the last one, you need to upload arguments and return something.
Yeah, so
Try
just
to do an operation here, right? You
a
can
super quick overview of this. Like when you define the function, you have the name, and in here you define the arguments that it will take. And these arguments need to be the same that you will use inside the function.
Yeah.
And to call the function, you need to have, if it doesn't have any arguments, you still need to do hello, parentheses, parentheses. If you just have hello, it doesn't call it, right? It's a function, it's defined, but I don't know, like, so to actually execute this function, you need to have the parentheses, parentheses.
So the last one, for example, let's start from this last one. Last one could be a function that takes the total amount of party cost.
Mm-hmm.
So like party cost. Yeah. So the first argument could be the price, the total price, and the second one could be the guest. Guest. I would say plural guest. Okay. And then this will return T price divided guest.
T price. But then if I
Yes.
right now if I will write node index. Wait, what is this? This is a result of what?
I think you are in. No, you didn't save. You didn't save.
Oh, I did save. It won't return. Oops. It won't return anything.
Yes, because you just defined them, you didn't call them yet. So try to use the last one, for example, just for fun. So party cost, let's say that costs 200,000. So just party. Yeah, you can save it in a constant, the value. Yeah.
Why?
No, you do const was good.
Const?
Yeah.
But it might change.
No, because you're just doing one calculation. So price per guest.
Per guest.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Such long.
Equal. So party cost. And then let's say 200,000.
200.
Divided. No. Comma.
Comma?
Yeah. Second argument.
Ah, okay.
And then let's say there were 250 guests.
250 guests.
Now you can console log the type T price guest.
That's fine.
T price guest.
T price guest. And then it'll give me. Okay. It's kind of like I have to do it myself to get it, but then I don't know how to do it myself.
Also, Ironic crowds purpose.
I've got it now. I'm going to try again with something else.
So an example could be for the last one, the one with arguments and that return something. Try to go back to the exercise of the party. And let's say that you want to find how much would cost per guest. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. That I ask you how much would cost per guest. So one way could be a function that takes two arguments and takes the total price of the party, and then the second argument is how many guests. And try to do that operation. Try to write in a function. You can do actually one extra check there, right? What about the price? If the price is 0?
If the price is 0, there is no party.
Yeah. What about the guest is 0 actually? So something divided 0, it's not possible, right?
Yeah.
So you need to you can add extra check to party cost.
Right.
In the function, right?
Here?
Yeah, before that return, you can actually check if guest is equal 0.
Ah, okay, now I got it. If
Because here you
guest
how many?
Yes.
0,
So they do
Log? Do you log or return?
Yeah, you can if you want you can like log something and say guest has to be at least one. Do the console log.
Guests.
Must be greater than 1, then 0. Yeah.
There could be one guest. Such a lonely party.
Perfect. And in that case, you don't return that one, but you return like a value. Let's say an error value could be -1. So we know that every time you return -1, there's an error.
Again.
So like this, if you leave it like this, then you have guest equals 0. You will console log this, which will be fine, and then you will still try to do this operation, which would be impossible. So
it has to be equal or less than.
No. Yeah, it could be actually less than equal than 0. I think it's the other way around. It's less.
Like if you want to put this in function.
It's magnificent.
Okay, so but if this will console log, but this will still execute, right? You agree with me? It won't stop the execution, right?
Yeah.
So the way to stop the execution is to have like a return right after the console log. So you have
inside the if?
Yeah, exactly. And then you just return a value called you can either use null in this case or just -1 if you want.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So you return something to the function, and then when you call it,
when I call it, if it's 0 or less
yeah,
than.
no, try to call it now with 0, with guest 0.
No.
Guest must be
greater than 0.
So now it doesn't give an error, you actually handle the error in the function.
But then,
So
why does it say no?
Because that's what you returned.
Like now what is does it take the price from the mention list, or it's just like
What if
you can return whatever you want.
What if I don't write this in the first place?
Yeah, you can. You can just don't
And then just
have.
return no.
Yeah. But then you don't give any hint why something went wrong.
Exactly. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Here you have access to that.
I'm gonna see.
show like how to say like find the biggest number match.
Oh, actually, I want to. I want to have it more like as a snippet.
Twice.
Cool, snippet. I think this is better. Then I can have JavaScript here. Perfect.
In here you can have the forward and the shopping list, and you have the max value. You have a solution.
So we can like make it looping into the.
And then pin it.
Like,
okay.
It doesn't sound more complicated doing it normal.
Okay, just yeah, it's on Slack.
It's
Okay.
the same thing. Now you have it in the function. So for example, if you have this called max price, function max price, and you can send in any list. Right?
Yes.
So you can call that function with Greg's list. You can call that function with Michael's list.
Try to do an operation.
So you have one
So,
piece of code
Yeah.
that does that.
We're still returning something.
And the result depends on the argument you have here.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
instead
so
of
let's
having
go.
So if I start
And
with
let's
like the loop here,
A, B, and C. Let's
and,
sum them up. So
like,
you just return
when I start to
this
make the loop
A
here,
plus
then
B
it's
plus
like
C, then you just console
I
inside function.
control like 0, I smaller than front shopping list, or like should we call it something?
No, that was
Yeah,
that was
this could be named just
that,
list
that was correct.
because it will not always be
Yeah,
French
this-
shopping
this-
list.
yeah.
It
So
will be
you go
a
new line
list.
Yeah, but then how like
Yeah,
to
you there?
insert the list?
before return.
You would send it so
Yes. Because if you do after return, you will never see that code.
this outside the function. Exactly, that's the, and then let's say that you have all of this logic done.
So you console log and then you
So
do
your
1
function is defined
plus
and it does things and
A
returns
plus
the max
B plus
price.
C.
So here we have, let's
So
rename this to max
Now
price.
remove that O as well.
Max
So do
price.
A plus B
And so after
plus
this,
C.
you could have
Are we going to talk
You
more?
don't need to
max
return
price
anything here. So this
with
is you do
my
that.
shopping list.
You do that.
So we will call this function and
Okay, first.
it will receive
So now
my
if you
shopping list
console log,
and it will do all of this logic with Michael's shopping list
Yeah.
so
and
you
return
Yeah.
the
need to
max
do-
And
price.
then just like write it like this without like console log.
here the console log
Then
of
you
O,
can also log it.
and you
yeah,
pass
Because
the
it will
number. So
return,
you
this
console
will
log
just return
The
the,
rest.
log,
the
Can we
result of
have
the function.
more
So you can have
than,
this
like,
open parenthesis.
Michael max price,
So call this function out.
and then you can console log that, and
Yeah,
then
out like this. So you know that put out.
you do the
Then
same
you
thing.
add, and then you add 3 numbers. Let's see if it works. Add 1, 2, and 3.
You copy that and paste it.
So 1, comma 2,
And then change
No,
Michael
comma.
to friend.
comma 2. Save it. 6.
Price, max
And you
price,
send in friends.
Try other numbers here. Let's see,
Exactly.
11,
Yeah, okay.
6,
Now it's
5,
like
and 3.
loop over to
T.
now to loop over
You
to
said-
arrays at one.
No, it will not loop over to arrays. It will execute this function with this list. So it will loop over
So
this
perfect.
list, and then it's done. Like
That's right.
then it will save the result into this variable.
So
then continues executing.
now here you are console
so
log
it
inside
executes
here,
this
right?
function again. Now
In
with
this
this
one, you
list.
do one more, call it.
So it doesn't loops over
call
two.
it,
It just loops on whatever it gets.
call it like
Yeah.
this. You say
So you could send in a different list, that a new one that you will create.
zoom,
Okay.
Yeah.
and then here you do the same, but you return. So you do return,
Could we say now like
and you return
how do you say
Return.
like find the biggest
this,
price?
right? Plus B.
So that one was
Yeah.
this,
Plus
and
B
then
plus C.
you can
Okay,
upload
perfect.
the solutions
Without
from Slack. This is
Yeah.
a domain.
Which side?
So you see, this
Ah.
one doesn't need this because this part is already console log.
This one?
No, this one is
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but I didn't
so now if you
Yes,
if you do this,
Yeah, but I didn't use like the math like the max or like max price.
zoom.
but it doesn't
Okay.
matter for this.
So, oops. Try to save a variable. So now you will see that you will only get. Yeah, remove that one. Yeah, save this at 2
That's
in the
what I
variable. So you do
But it doesn't matter, you can use your own solution.
But
Yeah,
as
you
you
can
know,
do
it
it as well.
was like
Var
this way.
sum
Ah, okay.
It was in this way.
equal, yeah, then you do console log of that.
Like that's what we did.
Console log of sum.
Yeah, so you can do the
Perfect.
same thing, you can copy this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. what
Yes.
that
That's 79. So the difference is that this
That's
because it's
it's
return, it will
Yeah.
return something into
was.
sum,
So
and then you console log here. This
what I
the
think we
first
could
one,
do
it will
is
console log inside
this
function.
function,
Hi.
So, and this doesn't return anything.
we have
If you
the
do this-
prices array, which is prices. And it's
This it won't show anything. You want to save, go here.
Yeah, right.
And then we will push.
Sum. You see sum.
But maybe here.
So if you console log sum, this way sum, it's undefined. Try to write something. Sum equal.
Iterating where we want this.
Some text. Do sum this.
Price there, so we will have like
Text.
110, 150, blah, blah, blah.
A string.
And then
Those ones.
after it moves over the four things, I want to do prices of sort.
Yeah.
That's a new method.
Oh, yeah.
Prices,
Okay.
Prices is my array of
and sort.
and certain order them from biggest to
Some undefined.
smallest.
But
And
because this doesn't return anything, no return
first
in out.
item
You see?
Yeah.
that
No return.
ordered
But
Yeah.
two
So then, and the
As
answer
return,
console
yes.
prices,
control
say
C
length minus length 1,
sum
prices
79.
1.
Exactly. I'm trying to
The return is important.
transition
That's
zero,
important.
right? This is the first one. So let's try and execute this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, console log 8 multiplied it.
Not reinforced.
And we're gonna also
Max.
there are two. What is premise? Yeah. Okay, so we're doing something. The answer should be once
So,
right?
Yeah.
So we get a list, we go from 0 until this length.
So hello doesn't return anything, right? So it's undefined. Plus even though
That's like, this
it
is
doesn't return
where
anything,
I
so
would
it's
Does it work?
yeah, I said it.
No, I mean, yeah.
So let's see, my
yeah, this console
guess
yeah.
is that you will
This one.
only
So this is
have one item there.
console
That's why it's
hello. Hello doesn't return anything, so it's undefined. You know what I mean? So you need to remove console log here, just to leave it
Yeah,
as
but
a
it's sorted like.
it's not sorting it, right?
No.
Like, so let's see what this is the sort is. Maybe I'm coming this way.
Look, if you do this, you just write it.
Yes, I'm doing that. So let's see.
صار ساعة 2 احكي لي كلمة عليه
نحاول أسلف كل شيء.
Okay, so it sorts it from slowest to biggest. Did you see the So
Okay.
now
Oh, so that's like
Is-
it's not sorting.
it's sorting, but not, we want like reverse the sorting. So let's see if there's any sample. We want actually the last one, then, right? If this array is sorted,
Okay.
Then I see the
So
result.
what do you want to do here?
The result and like.
I wanted to.
What's your idea?
this is
My idea is
Yeah, but
to
like,
get
is it like
how we
for
fastest or
Okay.
but that was I think before we sorted.
I think it's
Okay.
So that was
Okay.
just the array.
So those are the
And
same.
it's like if we sort
Okay. So when you define a function, those are
Yes.
should be car1, car2, car3, and car4.
so it's not.
And then I'll take this example to you. I'll do the view later, okay? I'll show you. But this is not the best. I'll make it as example because it's a good example.
Yeah, no, the 10 comes from Jerry's.
Yes.
So basically, these functions can use like
Yeah. So when I do return, something like get full name, that this get full name is a method. Yes. Because it's a function that returns an object which one key is a function. Yeah.
But the first one, there is no methods.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I'm returning 1, 2, 3, 4 properties and 2 methods. Get full name and find are 2 methods. Yes, that's correct.
And just what I do to after play.
Yeah, that's alright. You can see the videos. I know, but no, I think we stop here and then we just 2 hours that we just do some examples.
So this is
Yeah, it's alright. No worries. Absolutely. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Okay, we have a lunch break. When we are back, I'll do those examples for you. I'll solve the exercise for you, and we take what's your name? Sorry, Aisa. We do Aisa on the third exercise, on the third part. I'll solve it for you, and then I'll put on Slack the solutions.
I'll get the video, right?
You get Christoph, you will put on YouTube. The big film. Let me stop.